Captain Vexistar stared at the scanner display with his three eyes narrowed in confusion. The readings made no sense. His ship, the Silent Current, had been exploring the outer rim of the galaxy for 2 standard cycles, mapping new star systems and cataloging planets. This was supposed to be routine work. Nothing lived out here in the cold darkness between spiral arms. Yet the scanner showed artificial structures on the 4th planet of this unnamed system. "Science Officer Kethra, please verify these readings," Vextar said, his voice carrying the slight hiss that marked his species. The Zephyrians had been exploring space for over 3,000 years. They prided themselves on being logical and careful. Strange readings usually meant equipment problems. Kethra floated over to the captain's station, her blue-tinged skin reflecting the bridge lights. She ran the scan 3 more times, checking each reading carefully. Her findings matched the first. "Scan exactly. The readings are correct, Captain. There are definitely artificial structures down there. Large ones. The energy signatures suggest active power systems too." Vextar felt a chill run down his spine. Active power meant someone was still there, but no known species lived this far from the galactic core. The radiation levels alone should have prevented any civilization from developing here. "Helm, take us into orbit. Science team, prepare for a detailed planetary survey. Communications, scan all frequencies for any signals." As the Silent Current approached the planet, more details became clear. The world itself was harsh and unwelcoming. Thin atmosphere, extreme temperature variations, and high radiation readings. No sensible species would choose to live here. But someone had. The structures were unlike anything in the galactic databases. They were geometric and angular, built from materials that reflected scanner beams in strange ways. Some buildings stretched high into the sky, while others seemed to burrow deep underground. Connecting them were roads and pathways that followed no logical pattern. "Captain," called the communications officer, "I'm detecting no active transmissions, but there are recorded signals in the data networks. The encryption is completely unknown." "Any signs of the inhabitants?" "No life signs detected, sir, but the power systems are still running. Some of the automated systems appear to be active." Vextar made his decision. "Prepare a landing party, full environmental suits and recording equipment. We need to understand what we're looking at." 2 hours later, Vextar stood on the surface of the alien world with 5 of his crew. The gravity was heavy, almost uncomfortable for the Zephyrians. The air was thin and carried strange chemical scents that their filters worked hard to process. The buildings around them were massive. Vextar was tall for his species, but these structures were built for beings much larger than him. The doorways were wide and high. The stairs had deep steps that forced the Zephyrians to climb carefully. "These beings must have been giants," whispered Kethra as she recorded everything with her scanner. The strangest thing was how fresh everything looked. There was no dust, no signs of age or abandonment. Automated systems hummed quietly in the walls. Lights turned on when they entered rooms and turned off when they left. Climate control kept the air at comfortable temperatures. "It's like they just left yesterday," observed Lieutenant Zixara, the team's security officer. They explored building after building, finding the same pattern: furniture and equipment designed for large, powerful beings. Technology that looked crude and simple compared to Zephyrian engineering, yet somehow functioned perfectly. Everything was clean and maintained by automated systems that worked with quiet efficiency. In what appeared to be a residential area, they found living spaces that revealed more about the mysterious inhabitants. The beings slept on raised platforms, rather than in the flowing pods the Zephyrians preferred. They consumed food that was prepared with heat and fire, rather than the nutrient solutions that most galactic species used. "Look at this," Kethra called from what seemed to be a food preparation area. They actually cooked their meals with open flames, and these containers suggest they consumed liquids that would be toxic to most species. Vextar examined the containers. They were made of processed plant matter formed into sheets. The concept of making containers from dead plant material was completely foreign to him, yet these containers seemed perfectly functional. The more they explored, the more confused they became. These beings had lived differently from any known species in the galaxy. They appeared to enjoy physical challenges that would terrify other races. Their recreational areas included equipment designed for lifting heavy objects, running long distances, and engaging in mock combat. "Captain," Zixara called from across a large open space, "you need to see this." Vextar hurried over to find his security officer standing before a wall covered with images. The pictures showed the inhabitants of this place. They were bipedal, like the Zephyrians, but built completely differently. Where Zephyrians were thin and elegant, these beings were thick and muscular. They had only 2 eyes, positioned on the front of their heads rather than arranged for maximum vision like most prey species. But they didn't look like prey. Everything about them suggested they were predators. Their eyes faced forward for tracking targets. Their mouths contained sharp, white teeth designed for tearing. Their hands ended in short, thick digits that could clearly deliver powerful grips. "They look dangerous," Zixara observed. "Yes, but look at these other images." Kethra pointed to more pictures. "They're caring for small versions of themselves, and here, they're working together on some kind of construction project. They might be predators, but they're social predators. They cooperate." The images showed these beings in many activities. They were building, creating, exploring, and always working together. Even their recreational activities seemed to involve group cooperation or friendly competition. As the day continued, the exploration team found more puzzles. The beings had developed technology that worked, but violated many principles of efficient design. Their power systems were crude but generated enormous amounts of energy. Their materials were simple alloys that somehow demonstrated strength properties that should have been impossible. "Nothing here makes sense according to our understanding of physics and engineering," Kethra reported as they gathered at the end of the day. "Their technology should not work as well as it does. Their living conditions should not be sustainable for any known species. Yet everything functions perfectly." Vextar looked around at the alien colony as the sun set. Lights came on automatically throughout the settlement. Climate control systems maintained perfect conditions. Manufacturing facilities continued producing goods that no one would collect. It was like a vast machine that had been built to run forever, regardless of whether anyone was there to use it. "The real question," he said finally, "is where did they go? And why did they leave all of this behind?" That night, as the Zephyrians slept in their ship, automated systems throughout the colony continued their work. Machines repaired and maintained equipment. Manufacturing centers produced goods according to schedules programmed long ago. Deep underground, massive processors cleaned and recycled air and water. The colony was not abandoned. It was simply operating, without its creators, as it had been designed to do. In the morning, the exploration would continue. The Zephyrians would discover more about the mysterious beings who had built this place. They would find records and data that would challenge everything they thought they knew about life in the galaxy. But tonight, the colony hummed with quiet activity under alien stars, waiting patiently for its creators to return, or for new visitors to discover the wonders they had left behind. Dr. Kethra carefully recorded every detail as she examined the power generation facility. 3 days had passed since their arrival, and each discovery made less sense than the last. The technology before her violated basic principles that had guided galactic civilization for thousands of years. The power core was a massive, brutal-looking device that seemed to have been assembled from spare parts. Thick cables ran everywhere, held in place by simple metal brackets. Warning signs in the alien language covered every surface. Everything about it suggested crude, dangerous engineering. Yet it was producing more energy than the most advanced Zephyrian reactors. "This is impossible," she muttered, taking detailed scanner readings. "The efficiency ratings are beyond theoretical maximums. The radiation containment shouldn't work with these materials. But it does work, and it's been running perfectly for who knows how long." Captain Vextar joined her in the facility, ducking under a low-hanging pipe that had been sized for the larger alien inhabitants. "What have you found?" "A complete contradiction of everything we know about energy production. Look at this." Kethra pointed to a section of the reactor. "They're using basic metal alloys for radiation shielding. Any competent engineer would tell you that's suicide. but somehow it's working better than our best containment materials. They moved to the next section, where Lieutenant Zixara was examining what appeared to be manufacturing equipment. The machines were enormous, built to handle materials that would require heavy industrial equipment for most species to manage. The manufacturing processes are just as strange, Zixara reported. They seem to prefer brute force solutions to elegant engineering. Where we would use precise molecular assembly, they heat metals to extreme temperatures and pound them into shape with massive hammers. Vextar examined a finished product from one of the machines. It was a simple tool, crude-looking and heavy, but when he tested its strength, the tool proved to be nearly indestructible. Their philosophy seems to be, build it strong enough that it never breaks, rather than our approach of building it precisely enough that it doesn't need to be strong. The exploration team spent the morning examining workshop after workshop. Each facility revealed the same pattern, technology that looked primitive but performed beyond expectations. The aliens had developed solutions that worked through pure stubborn determination, rather than elegant design. In one workshop, they found evidence of the aliens' problem-solving methods. Broken equipment sat next to repaired versions that had been modified with additional materials and reinforcements. Instead of replacing damaged items with identical copies, these beings had improved them. Look at this pattern, Kethra observed, scanning a repaired device. The original component failed, so they added more material and made it stronger. When that version had problems, they added even more reinforcement. They kept modifying and improving until it became something completely different from the original design. Trial and error engineering, Vextar noted. But taken to an extreme level. They don't seem to believe in theoretical limits. They discovered a storage area filled with what appeared to be failed experiments and abandoned projects. But even the failures revealed impressive engineering. Devices that hadn't worked as intended still demonstrated innovative solutions to complex problems. Ensign Thalix, the team's youngest member, called out from across the workshop. Sirs, you need to see this transportation system. They gathered around what was clearly a vehicle designed for moving through the colony. Like everything else, it was built for beings much larger and stronger than the Zephyrians. The propulsion system was a chemical combustion engine that burned liquid fuel and controlled explosions. They use explosions to move around? Zixara asked in disbelief. Apparently so, and look at these tire structures. Kethra pointed to circular objects made of some flexible material. They actually make contact with the ground surface for traction. No magnetic levitation, no gravity manipulation, just direct physical contact. Vextar studied the vehicle with growing amazement. It's so simple, but it would work in almost any environment. No complex electronics to fail. No need for prepared magnetic surfaces or gravity generators. Just an engine, wheels, and a steering mechanism. The afternoon brought more discoveries in what appeared to be a research facility. Here they found evidence of the aliens' scientific methods. Instead of the careful theoretical work that characterized Zephyrian research, these beings seemed to prefer direct experimentation. Laboratory after laboratory showed evidence of hands-on testing. Equipment had been built, tested to destruction, rebuilt with improvements and tested again. The aliens appeared to learn more from studying failures than successes. They have an interesting approach to scientific research, Kethra observed as she examined testing equipment. Rather than spending years in theoretical development, they build working prototypes immediately and learn by watching them fail. Fast. Iteration, Vexistar noted. Build it, break it, fix it better, repeat. It's crude but probably very effective for rapid development. The most shocking discovery came in a facility that appeared to be devoted to transportation technology. Here they found evidence that the aliens had developed faster-than-light travel, using methods that made no sense according to established physics. Their FTL drives were massive, inefficient-looking devices that appeared to brute force their way through space-time rather than elegantly manipulating it like Zephyrian technology. The mathematics they used were completely different from galactic standard equations. This shouldn't work, Kethra said, staring at the alien FTL equations displayed on a wall screen. They're ignoring half the variables that make faster-than-light travel possible. But according to these test logs, their drives work better than ours. How is that possible? I have no idea. It's like they found a completely different way to achieve the same result, a way that ignores our understanding of how the universe works. As evening approached, the team gathered to compare their findings. Each department had discovered the same pattern: technology that violated established principles but worked better than it should. Everything about this civilization challenges our basic understanding of engineering and physics, Vextar summarized. They build things that shouldn't work, using methods that ignore established science and somehow achieve results that surpass our best technology. Maybe, suggested Thalix hesitantly, they come from a background that forced them to find different solutions. Their original environment might have required approaches that seem crude to us but work in conditions we've never encountered. Kethra nodded thoughtfully. That would explain the emphasis on strength and durability over efficiency and elegance. If they evolved in a harsh environment, they would have learned to build things that could survive under extreme conditions. But what kind of environment would produce this level of innovation? Vextar wondered. What could force a species to develop such unique approaches to technology? That night, as the Zephyrians rested in their ship, they realized they had only scratched the surface of the mysteries surrounding this colony. The technology they had examined was impressive, but it raised more questions than it answered. Who were these aliens? Where did they come from? What kind of world had forced them to develop such unusual solutions to common problems? Most importantly, where had they gone? And would the galaxy be ready when they encountered the rest of their civilization? The colony continued its automated operations around them, maintaining systems that had been designed to run for centuries without supervision. Somewhere in the databanks, the answers to their questions waited to be discovered. The central data repository stood at the heart of the colony like a massive monument to knowledge. Dr. Kethra approached the building with growing excitement and nervousness. For 5 days, they had been studying the technology and structures left behind by the mysterious aliens. Now they might finally learn who these beings were and where they had come from. The building was different from the others they had explored. Where most structures in the colony were purely functional, this one had decorative elements. Images were carved into the walls showing scenes of the aliens working together, building, exploring, and celebrating. The entrance was marked with symbols that repeated throughout the colony. This appears to be their most important building, Captain Vextar observed as they entered the main chamber. The construction is more elaborate and the security systems are more sophisticated. The interior was filled with data storage devices, display screens, and access terminals. Everything was built to accommodate the large alien physique, forcing the Zephyrians to use portable platforms to reach the controls. The systems were still active, maintaining vast libraries of information. Lieutenant Zixara worked at one of the terminals, trying to decode the alien language and access systems. The data structure is complex but logical. I'm beginning to understand their basic information organization. After several hours of careful work, they achieved their first breakthrough. Text began appearing on the display screens, accompanied by images and what appeared to be historical records. Success, Zixara announced. I have access to their historical databases. The translation program is starting to work. According to this, they call themselves humans. The first records they accessed showed the human homeworld. The Zephyrians stared in horror at the images displayed before them. The planet was a nightmare of extreme conditions that should have prevented any form of intelligent life from developing. Massive storms raged across continents, carrying winds that could destroy buildings. Geological activity split the ground and spewed molten rock into the air. The weather shifted between deadly heat and killing cold. Predatory animals filled every ecosystem, most of them large enough to hunt the humans themselves. This can't be their actual homeworld, Kethra whispered. Nothing could evolve intelligence under these conditions. The constant danger and environmental stress would prevent any species from developing advanced civilization. But the records continued, showing how humans had not just survived on this death world, but had thrived. They developed tools to hunt the predators that hunted them. They built shelters that could withstand the storms, They learned to predict and avoid the geological disasters that regularly reshaped their landscape. Look at this, Vextar pointed to an image showing humans working in extreme heat near flowing lava. They're actually using the volcanic activity for manufacturing purposes. They've turned the planet's deadliest features into industrial resources. The historical records revealed a species that had faced constant challenges and responded by becoming more adaptable, more innovative, and more determined. Natural disasters that would have driven any sensible species to extinction became opportunities for humans to develop new technologies and survival strategies. Their early history was filled with conflicts between different human groups. Wars, competitions, and struggles that might have weakened other species seemed to make humans stronger. They learned from each conflict, developing better strategies, improved technologies, and stronger cooperation methods. They fight each other constantly, Zixara observed, reading through military history records. But notice how they also cooperate. Even while fighting, they follow rules and maintain codes of behavior, and after conflicts they often form alliances with former enemies. Competitive cooperation, Kethra noted. They challenge each other to become better, but they don't try to completely destroy their opponents. It's like they understand that having worthy opponents makes them stronger. The records showed how humans had gradually transformed their hostile homeworld. They diverted rivers, leveled mountains, and created vast agricultural areas where once only wasteland existed. They domesticated the dangerous predators, turning them into allies and companions. This is incredible, Vextar said, studying images of the transformed human homeworld. They didn't adapt to their environment. They adapted their environment to themselves. They rebuilt an entire planet to be more habitable. The technological development records revealed the same pattern they had observed in the colony. Humans preferred practical solutions over elegant theories. They built things that worked first, then improved them through constant testing and modification. Their approach to space travel followed the same philosophy. While other species had developed space technology gradually over thousands of years, humans had achieved spaceflight in a few centuries through rapid experimentation and improvement. Look at these early space vehicle designs, Kethra pointed to historical technical drawings. They're absolutely primitive, chemical rockets that barely reached orbit. But they kept improving them, making them bigger, more powerful, more reliable. The space exploration record showed humans spreading through their solar system with characteristic determination. They established colonies on planets and moons that other species would have considered uninhabitable. Each hostile environment became a new challenge to overcome. They colonized a planet with surface temperatures over 400 degrees, Zixara read from the records, and another one with methane rain and hydrocarbon lakes. They don't seem to believe in uninhabitable as a concept. The records revealed that humans viewed every problem as temporary. If something was too hot, they developed better cooling systems. If gravity was too strong, they built stronger structures and trained their bodies to handle the stress. If the atmosphere was poisonous, they created better filtration technology. Their approach to faster-than-light travel exemplified their practical philosophy. While other species had spent centuries perfecting elegant FTL theories, humans had built working drives through trial and error, accepting inefficiency in exchange for reliability. Their first FTL ships were basically flying workshops, Vextar observed, reading technical specifications. They carried enough spare parts and repair equipment to rebuild the entire vessel during flight. They assumed things would break and planned accordingly, but the most shocking discovery came when they accessed records about human expansion into the galaxy. The files revealed that humans had been exploring galactic space for decades, establishing colonies throughout the outer rim regions. They've been spreading across the galaxy while staying hidden from the established civilizations, Kethra realized. They've been systematically colonizing worlds that other species considered too dangerous or too remote to be worth claiming. The colonization record showed typical human behavior. Instead of competing with other species for the comfortable, easy worlds, they had claimed the challenging ones: desert planets, ice worlds, high radiation environments, unstable systems. Everywhere that other species avoided, humans had established thriving colonies. They're not trying to compete with us, Vextar understood finally. They're taking the worlds we don't want and turning them into successful colonies. They're expanding into areas where no one else bothers to go. The final records in the archive explained what had happened to this particular colony. The humans hadn't been driven away or faced any disaster. They had simply completed their mission and moved on to the next challenge. This colony had been established as a testing ground for large-scale terraforming technology. The humans had successfully transformed the hostile planet into a garden world, then automated all the systems to continue the work without supervision. They built this entire colony as an experiment, Kethra read from the final logs. They wanted to prove they could terraform a whole planet using automated systems. Once they succeeded, they left the machines running and moved on to terraform an entire solar system simultaneously. The archive's last entry was a message from the colony administrator. Phase 1 terraforming complete. All systems functioning within acceptable parameters. Automated expansion proceeding according to schedule. Colony ready for Phase 2 settlers. In approximately 50 standard years. Administration transferring to Kepler Station for multi-system terraforming project. Captain Vextar stared at the final message with growing realization. These humans hadn't just built a colony and abandoned it. They had built a self-sustaining terraforming operation and left it running like a simple household appliance while they moved on to even more ambitious projects. The question was no longer where the humans had gone. The question was how many other projects like this they had scattered across the galaxy and what they were planning to do next. Captain Vextar spent the 6th day exploring the deepest levels of the human colony. The revelations from the archives had changed everything they thought they understood about these mysterious beings. Now he needed to see the full scope of what the humans had accomplished here. Deep underground, massive machines continued their work in chambers that stretched beyond the reach of their portable lights. The scale of the operation was breathtaking. Automated systems processed raw materials, manufactured components, and maintained equipment without any supervision. It was like discovering a vast industrial civilization that needed no inhabitants. "Captain," Dr. Kethra called from across the chamber, "you need to see these manufacturing specifications. The humans aren't just terraforming this planet. They're preparing it for something much larger." She led him to a monitoring station that displayed the colony's complete operational plan. The screens showed projected timelines, resource allocations, and construction schedules that extended centuries into the future. According to these projections, the automated systems will continue expanding the colony for the next 200 years, Kethra explained. They're building infrastructure for a population of over 10 million beings. 10 million? Vextar studied the numbers with disbelief. This planet could barely support the few thousand humans who were here when they left. That's because they're not just terraforming the surface. Look at this. Kethra brought up geological surveys showing the planet's transformation. They're modifying the core temperature, adjusting the magnetic field, and redesigning the atmospheric composition. Kentiu, 50 years. This will be a completely different world. Lieutenant Zixara joined them at the monitoring station, carrying data tablets filled with information from other sections of the underground complex. The manufacturing facilities are producing colonization equipment for dozens of different planetary environments. They're not just planning to expand here. They're using this colony as a supply base for further expansion. The deeper they went, the more impressive the operation became. Automated mining systems extracted resources from the planet's crust and processed them into construction materials. Manufacturing centers produced everything from basic tools to complex technological components. Transportation systems moved materials through underground networks that connected every part of the colony. The humans built this entire operation to run without them, Vextar realized. They created a self-sustaining industrial complex and left it running like a simple household appliance. In the deepest levels, they discovered the colony's most ambitious project. A massive construction facility building what appeared to be starship components. The parts were enormous, far larger than anything needed for the vessels they had seen. In the archives, these are components for ships designed to carry entire populations, Kethra observed, scanning the construction specifications. colony ships built for journeys that might take decades or centuries, or ships designed to carry the equipment needed for terraforming entire star systems, Zixara added, reading from a technical manual. Look at these payload specifications. These vessels are designed to transport industrial equipment on a scale that most civilizations would consider impossible. They spent hours exploring the construction facility, trying to understand the scope of human ambitions. The ships being built were not elegant or efficient by galactic standards. Like everything else humans created, they were built for durability and functionality over aesthetic appeal. But the scale was overwhelming. Each ship was large enough to carry the population and equipment needed to establish multiple colonies simultaneously. The humans weren't planning to expand slowly and carefully like other galactic civilizations. They were planning to spread across vast areas of space in coordinated waves. "Captain," Thalix called from across the facility, "I've found their navigation databases. You need to see this." The navigation system revealed the true scope of human expansion. Star charts showed human colonies scattered across dozens of star systems, all in regions that established galactic civilizations had ignored or avoided. "They're everywhere," Vextar whispered, studying the colony locations. High radiation systems, binary star systems, planets with extreme gravity or hostile atmospheres. They're systematically colonizing every world that other species consider uninhabitable. "And look at the communication logs," Thalix added, bringing up data streams from other colonies. "They're all still active, all still expanding. The humans have created a network of self-sustaining colonies across hundreds of light-years of space. The communication logs revealed regular data exchanges between human colonies, sharing technological improvements, resource allocations, and expansion plans. Each colony was developing new solutions to local challenges, then sharing those solutions with the entire network. They're not just expanding randomly, Kethra realized. This is coordinated expansion on a galactic scale. Each colony is designed to support further expansion into new regions. The log showed human colonies in radiation-soaked systems developing better shielding technology, then sharing those improvements with colonies facing different challenges. Iceworld colonies shared heating and insulation innovations. High-gravity colonies developed stronger materials and construction techniques. "It's like they're turning the galaxy's most hostile environments into research laboratories," Zixara observed. "Every challenge they overcome makes them better prepared for the next challenge." But the most shocking discovery came when they accessed the humans' long-term planning files. The expansion they were witnessing was just the beginning. The humans had developed plans for systematic exploration and colonization of the entire galaxy. They're planning to terraform and colonize every habitable system in the galaxy. Vextar read from the planning documents, not just the easy worlds. Every world that could potentially support life with the right modifications. The timeline was ambitious beyond anything the established galactic civilizations had ever attempted. While other species expanded slowly, over thousands of years, carefully selecting only the most suitable worlds, humans planned to claim and transform entire regions of space within centuries. "They don't think like us," Kethra observed. "We see expansion as a gradual process of finding suitable worlds and adapting to them. They see expansion as transforming unsuitable worlds into suitable ones. And they have the technology to do it," Zixara added, reviewing the terraforming equipment specifications. "These automated systems can transform almost any planet into a habitable world, given enough time and resources." The final piece of the puzzle came from the colony's administrative files. The humans who had established this colony weren't refugees or explorers seeking new homes. They were engineers and planners working on the largest construction project in galactic history. This colony was never meant to be permanent. Vexitar understood finally. It was a staging ground, a testing site, and a manufacturing center for something much larger. The files revealed that the humans were implementing an expansion strategy they called Project Genesis. The goal was to establish self-sustaining colonies throughout the galaxy, each one designed to continue expansion without supervision from the homeworld. "They're not trying to build an empire," Kethra realized. "They're trying to seed the galaxy with human civilization. Every colony is designed to eventually become independent and continue expanding on its own. The strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to maintain control over vast distances, the humans were creating autonomous colonies that could survive and expand without support. Each colony would eventually spawn new colonies, creating an exponential expansion pattern. In a few thousand years, there could be human colonies in every system in the galaxy, Vextar said, studying the projection models, not through conquest or competition with other species, but by claiming and transforming the worlds that no one else wants. As they prepared to leave the underground complex, the exploration team realized they had discovered something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans weren't just another species expanding into space. They were implementing a systematic transformation of the galaxy itself. The question was no longer what the humans were planning to do. The question was whether the established galactic civilizations were ready for the changes that were already underway. Above them, the colony's automated systems continued their work, building toward a future that would reshape the galaxy in ways that no one had ever imagined possible. Captain Vextar stood on the observation deck of the Silent Current as his ship prepared to leave the human colony. 7 days of exploration had fundamentally changed his understanding of the galaxy and the Zephyrians' place in it. The systematic documentation of everything they had discovered filled the ship's entire database. Behind them, the colony continued its automated operations. Manufacturing facilities produced construction materials, terraforming systems modified the atmosphere and climate, and communication arrays maintained contact with dozens of other human settlements scattered across the outer rim. All without a single human present to oversee the work. "Final systems check complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Zixara. "All data has been secured and transmitted to Zephyrian Command. The Galactic Council should receive our preliminary report within 6 standard days." Dr. Kethra joined them at the observation window, carrying the last of her research materials. "I've completed my analysis of their expansion patterns. Based on the colony locations and resource allocation data, I estimate there are at least 200 active human settlements, with more being established regularly. 200 colonies that we know about," Vextar corrected. "The humans appear to value operational security. They may have many more settlements that don't communicate with this network." The implications were staggering. While the established galactic civilizations had spent millennia carefully expanding through the most habitable systems, humans had been quietly colonizing everywhere else. They had turned the galaxy's most challenging environments into thriving settlements. "Sir," called Ensign Thalix from the communication station, "I'm detecting new signals from deeper and unexplored space. The transmission patterns match human technology." Vextar studied the signal analysis. The transmissions were coming from multiple locations, all in regions that galactic surveys had classified as uninhabitable or too dangerous for colonization. The humans had been active in those areas for decades. "Plot those signal sources on the navigation display," he ordered. When the display updated, it showed a pattern that sent chills down his spine. Human colonies formed a rough sphere expanding outward from the galactic rim, with this settlement near the edge of their explored territory. "They're not expanding randomly into empty space," he realized. "They're systematically claiming every system that other civilizations have ignored. They're taking the entire outer galaxy while we focus on the habitable core systems." As the Silent Current engaged its faster-than-light drive, Vextar reviewed the message he would send to the Galactic Council. How could he explain what they had discovered? How could he make the Council understand that humanity represented something completely unprecedented? The humans didn't fit into any of the established categories for galactic civilizations. They weren't conquerors seeking to dominate other species. They weren't traders seeking economic advantage. They weren't philosophers seeking knowledge. They were builders on a scale that defied comprehension. "Captain," Kethra said quietly, "I've been thinking about the implications of what we've discovered. The humans aren't just expanding into space. They're implementing a complete transformation of galactic civilization." "Explain." "Every species in the galaxy has developed within certain limitations. We accept that some worlds are uninhabitable, some systems are too dangerous, some projects are too ambitious to attempt. The humans don't accept any of those limitations. Vextar nodded slowly. They see challenges where we see impossibilities. Exactly. And they have the technology and determination to overcome challenges that would stop other civilizations. In a few centuries, they'll have claimed and transformed more territory than the rest of galactic civilization combined. The journey back to Zephyrian space would take several weeks, giving the crew time to analyze everything they had learned. The more they studied the human data, the more impressive their achievements became. The humans had developed solutions to problems that other species had never even attempted to solve. They had created technologies that worked through brute force and determination rather than elegant theory. They had established colonies in environments that should have been impossible to survive. Most importantly, they had done it all while remaining hidden from the established galactic civilizations. They had expanded across vast regions of space, without competing with other species for resources or territory. The question, Zixara observed during one of their analysis sessions, is what happens when we make contact with them officially. How will the galactic community react to discovering that humans have been terraforming the galaxy while we weren't paying attention? It was a crucial question. The established galactic civilizations had spent thousands of years developing complex diplomatic relationships, trade agreements, and territorial boundaries. The discovery that an unknown species had been systematically claiming vast regions of previously ignored space would disrupt everything. Some species will see them as a threat, Vextar predicted. The idea of a civilization that doesn't accept natural limitations will be terrifying to races that have built their entire philosophy around accepting constraints. Others might see them as an opportunity, Kethra added. Human terraforming technology could make uninhabitable worlds accessible to species that could never colonize them independently. But there was a deeper issue that Vextar kept returning to as they traveled home. The humans represented a completely different approach to existence. Where other galactic civilizations had developed sophisticated cultures focused on philosophy, art, and intellectual achievement, humans appeared to be focused on constant improvement and expansion. They didn't seem interested in reaching a stable, comfortable state of civilization. Every challenge overcome became the foundation for tackling even greater challenges. Every successful colony became a base for establishing more colonies. Every technological breakthrough enabled more ambitious projects. They're not trying to find their place in the galaxy, he realized during one quiet watch period. They're trying to reshape the galaxy to accommodate their vision of what it should be. The implications were profound. If humans continued their expansion at the current rate, they would eventually encounter every other galactic civilization, not as invaders or competitors, but as neighbors who had transformed the spaces between established civilizations. 3 weeks into their journey home, they detected signs that human expansion was already affecting established space. Long-range sensors picked up unusual activity in systems at the edge of Nexari territory. When they investigated, they found evidence of human terraforming operations in previously uninhabited systems adjacent to Nexari colonies. They're not avoiding us, Thalix observed as they analyzed the sensor data. They're expanding right up to the boundaries of established space, which means contact is inevitable, Vextar concluded. The question is whether that contact will be peaceful or hostile. Based on everything they had learned about human behavior, Vextar believed the contact would be peaceful. Humans didn't seem interested in conquering or displacing other civilizations. They seemed content to claim the territory that no one else wanted. But peaceful didn't mean without consequences. The discovery that humans had been active throughout the galaxy would force every established civilization to reconsider their assumptions about expansion, technology, and what was possible. As the silent current approached Zephyrian space, Vextar prepared his final report for the Galactic Council. The message was simple but would change everything. Humanity had been discovered and they were already everywhere. The colony they had investigated was just one small example of human achievement. Across the galaxy, automated systems continued, terraforming projects that would create habitable worlds for generations yet to be born. Manufacturing facilities produced the equipment needed for even more ambitious expansion. Communication networks coordinated efforts across vast distances of space. The humans had left them a gift, the knowledge that the galaxy was far more malleable than anyone had imagined. Worlds that seemed uninhabitable could be transformed. Challenges that seemed impossible could be overcome. Limitations that seemed absolute could be transcended. The question now was what the established galactic civilizations would do with that knowledge, and whether they were ready to share the galaxy with a species that refused to accept the impossible. The distress call that echoed across the stars. Then humanity arrived. The huge ship floated without power in the empty space around the distant star called Vega. Inside the ship, the blue-skinned alien named Lyra moved her four-fingered hands across the control panel. Her large eyes blinked rapidly as worry filled her chest. "Nothing," she said to her captain. "No one hears us." Captain Xerex stood behind her. His tall, thin body was tense. The skin patches on his neck glowed a dim orange, showing his fear. "Try again," he ordered. "The 10,000 sleepers depend on us." The Eternal Light had been traveling for 15 years. It carried the hope of the Nerisian people, families asleep in special pods while the crew guided them to their new home. 3 days ago, something had hit their ship. Now the engines would not work. Their food was running out. The air systems were failing. Worst of all, the sleep pods were losing power. If they failed, all the sleeping people would die. Lyra had tried calling her own people, but the nearest Nerisian ship was too far away. They would not arrive in time. "There is one more thing we can try," she said quietly. She pointed to a star map showing a small yellow sun. "The signals from this area have been growing stronger. There might be a new space-traveling species there." "Have they reached beyond their own system?" Xerex asked. "Just barely. But their signals show intelligence and something else." She hesitated. "Tell me." "They tell stories of helping others, of traveling great distances to save people in danger. Stories of hope." Xerex stared at the map. The risk was great. No Nerisian had ever met another intelligent species. But what choice did they have? "Send the call," he said at last. "Use the universal mathematical patterns. Add our location." Lyra prepared the message, simple and clear, an SOS that any space-traveling people would understand. She aimed the powerful signal toward the yellow star and sent it out into the darkness. Now, they could only wait. And hope. On Earth, it was night in the Arizona desert. Stars filled the sky above the large white dishes of the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Inside the main building, Kate Wilson sipped her coffee and watched the screens. It was her 5th night shift this week, and she was tired. The computer beeped. Kate put down her coffee and looked closer at the screen. A pattern appeared, a series of prime numbers, then simple math equations. It repeated over and over. "That's not random," she whispered. Her heart beat faster. She picked up the phone and called her supervisor. Alan Bradley arrived within minutes, his gray hair messy from sleep. He leaned over Kate's shoulder and watched. "The pattern. Where's it coming from?" he asked. "The Vega system." Kate pointed to the star map. "About 25 light-years away." Alan's face grew serious. "Run it through the translation matrix." The computer worked for hours, comparing the signal to all known languages and mathematical patterns. Finally, words appeared on the screen. "Help. Frequency ship damaged. 10,000 lives at risk. Coordinates follow." Alan made a call to his bosses. They called their bosses. By morning, the message had reached the highest levels of government. At Space Command Headquarters in Washington, D.C., Admiral John Garrett read the report for the 5th time. After 30 years in space service, he had seen many strange things, but never this, proof of intelligent life beyond Earth. His aide, Lieutenant Frank Peters, entered the office. "Sir, the President is asking for your recommendation." Garrett looked up. "What do we know about the USS Horizon?" "It's our newest rescue ship, sir. Fast, well-equipped. Captain Samantha Lee commanding." "And she's the best?" "Top of her class. 3 successful rescue missions in the asteroid belt." Garrett nodded. "But this is different. If this signal is real, she'll be the first human to meet aliens." If it's a trap, sir? The Admiral stood up and walked to the window. He looked out, at the blue sky. 30 years ago, we were still fighting over oil. Now we have ships that can cross the stars. We got here by working together. He turned back to Peters. What would it say about us if we ignored a cry for help? Peters nodded. Prepare the horizon, Garrett ordered. Full crew, full medical team. I want them ready to launch in 12 hours. At the Houston spaceport, Captain Samantha Lee stood in the control room of the USS Horizon. The ship was the pride of Earth's small fleet, a sleek, powerful vessel built for speed and rescue operations. It had never been tested beyond the solar system. Captain, you have a call from Admiral Garrett, said the communications officer. Lee took the call. As the Admiral explained the situation, her brown eyes widened. Are you sure about this, sir? She asked when he finished. No, Garrett admitted. But if there's even a small chance this is real, we have to try. My crew hasn't trained for first contact. No one has, Captain. But they've trained to save lives. That's what matters now. After the call, Lee gathered her senior officers in the briefing room. She explained their mission with calm words, but inside, she felt both fear and excitement. Chief. Medical Officer Ben Martinez spoke first. We have no idea what these beings might be like. Different biology, different diseases. Different everything, added Engineer Doug Freeman. Their technology could be way beyond ours. Communications Officer Linda Perez studied the signal details. The mathematical sequence is elegant. Whoever sent this is intelligent, maybe more advanced than us. Or it could be a trap, said Security Chief Nicole Garcia. Her hand rested near her weapon. Lee looked at each of them. We don't know what we'll find, but someone out there needs help, and we're the only ones who can give it. News of the signal spread quickly. People gathered in streets and homes to watch the reports. Some were scared, some were excited. Many prayed. President Maria Clark addressed the world from the White House Rose Garden. Today we received a message from beyond our solar system, she said. A call for help from an unknown people facing death. We have chosen to answer that call. She explained the mission of the Horizon, to travel to the Vega system and assist the stranded ship. This mission carries risk. But throughout human history, brave people have faced the unknown to help others. This represents the best of humanity, our compassion, our courage, our hope. As the speech ended, the USS Horizon rose from Earth on powerful engines. The ship climbed higher and higher until it reached orbit. Then it moved away from Earth, gathering speed. Captain Lee sat in the command chair, watching the blue planet grow smaller on the screen. Set course for the Vega system, she ordered. Prepare for FTL jump. The stars stretched into lines of light as the Horizon leaped into faster-than-light travel. Earth's first rescue mission to the stars had begun. Humanity was on its way. The distress call that echoed across the stars. Then humanity arrived. The USS Horizon flew through the darkness of space, its powerful engines pushing it faster than light. Inside the ship, the crew worked to prepare for what lay ahead. Captain. Samantha Lee sat in her private quarters, reading reports on her tablet. She had been chosen to lead this mission because of her calm mind and quick thinking. 3 times before, she had saved people from space accidents. But this was different. This time, they were flying toward beings no human had ever seen. A soft knock came at her door. Come in, she called. Chief Medical Officer Ben Martinez entered. His dark eyes looked tired. He had not slept much since they left Earth 2 days ago. How are the preparations going? Lee asked. We've converted Cargo Bay 3 into an emergency medical center, Martinez said. But I don't know if our medicines will work on aliens. Their bodies could be completely different from ours. Lee nodded. Do your best. That's all any of us can do. She stood and walked with Martinez to the main deck of the ship. The Horizon was not very large, but it had been built to help people in trouble. It carried food, water, medical supplies, and repair equipment. The main deck buzzed with activity. Engineer Doug Freeman and his team tested tools and machines. Security Chief Nicole Garcia trained her people for possible danger. Communications Officer Linda Perez studied the alien message again and again, looking for more clues about who had sent it. Lee called everyone together. "We will reach the coordinates in 10 hours, she said. "I want everyone ready. We don't know what we'll find, but we know why we're going. To help." "What if they look very strange?" someone asked. "What if they're scary?" "Remember," Lee said, firmly, "they reached out to us. They trusted us enough to call for help. We need to show them that trust was not a mistake." Martinez raised his hand. "What if we can't help them? What if their needs are beyond our abilities?" "Then we try anyway," Lee answered. "And we learn from the attempt. Either way, humanity's first meeting with another intelligent species will show our best qualities, compassion and courage." Back on Earth, people waited for news. Some were afraid. What if the aliens came to Earth? What if they brought strange diseases or wanted to take over? Others were excited. New friends from the stars might bring wonderful new knowledge. In New York City, a huge crowd gathered in Times Square. They watched the giant screens showing pictures from space telescopes. The screens could not show the horizon. It was too far away now. But they showed the star Vega, a bright point of light where the human ship was headed. In Washington, D.C., President Maria Clark met with scientists and military leaders. They made plans for what might happen next. "If Captain Lee succeeds," the president said, "we need to be ready to welcome refugees or offer more help." "And if she finds something dangerous?" asked General Simmons. "Then she'll warn us," the president replied. "I trust her judgment." Around the world, regular people found ways to show support. Children drew pictures of the horizon meeting friendly aliens. Churches and temples held special prayers. Restaurants created space-themed meals. It seemed like everyone was thinking about the mission. On the horizon, Engineer Freeman worked with his team to prepare for possible repair work on the alien ship. "We've studied every kind of engine humans have ever built," he told Captain Lee, "but they might use technology we've never seen before." "Focus on the basics," she advised. "Power, air, water. All living things need certain things to survive." Freeman nodded. "We've packed every tool and spare part we could fit. Plus, we can use the 3D printers to make new parts if we need to." In the communications center, Linda Perez made a discovery. "Captain," she called over the ship's system, "I've been analyzing the alien language patterns. Their mathematical structure shows they might be more advanced than us. Their signal suggests they've been watching our broadcast for years." "Watching us?" Lee asked, coming to the communications room. "What do you mean?" "Our television signals, radio, internet broadcasts, they travel into space. Any civilization with good enough receivers could pick them up. They've probably been learning about us for decades." "So they know what humans look like? How we behave?" "Possibly. They might have chosen to call us specifically because they liked what they saw." This new information changed things. It wasn't just luck that the aliens had called Earth. They had chosen humans on purpose. Security Chief Garcia was concerned. "If they've been watching us, they know our strengths and weaknesses. We need to be careful." "Or," said Lee, "they called us because they saw something in humanity they trusted. Let's not disappoint them." As the horizon flew closer to its destination, the crew checked their equipment one last time. They packed special suits that would protect them from unknown environments. They prepared translation devices based on the mathematical patterns in the alien message. 2 hours to arrival," announced the navigation officer. Captain Lee addressed the entire crew over the ship's speakers. "In 2 hours, we will be the first humans to meet beings from another world. This is a historic moment, but do not forget why we're here. People are in danger. They need our help. Focus on the mission." She paused, then added, "Whatever happens next, I am proud to be here with all of you. Humanity could not have better representatives." The crew returned to their stations. On the main screen, the star Vega grew brighter. Somewhere near that distant sun, 10,000 lives waited for rescue. The USS Horizon made its final faster-than-light jump. When the ship returned to normal space, the sensors immediately detected something large ahead. "On screen," ordered Captain Lee. The image appeared, and everyone on the bridge fell silent. Against the blackness of space floated an enormous ship. It was beautiful and strange, with a design unlike anything humans had built. Its surface gleamed with a pearly light, but dark areas showed where it had been damaged. Life signs? Lee asked. Many, replied the science officer, but they're weak. Send the greeting message on all frequencies, Lee ordered. Let them know help has arrived. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the communication system crackled. Signal coming in, said Perez. They're responding. The main screen changed. A face appeared, blue-skinned with 4 large eyes. Though the features were alien, the expression was clear to everyone. It was hope. We thank for coming, came the halting translation. No time. Systems failing. Need help. Captain Lee stood tall. This is Captain Samantha Lee of the Earth, Ship Horizon. We received your distress call. We're here to help you. Humanity's first contact had begun. The distress call that echoed across the stars. Then humanity arrived. The alien face on the screen looked tired and afraid. It had blue skin and 4 large eyes that blinked in different patterns. Though the face was strange to human eyes, the worry it showed was easy to understand. I am Captain Zyrex of the colony ship Eternal Light, the alien said through the translation system. We thank humans for answering our call. Captain Samantha Lee nodded. We're here to help. Please tell us what happened to your ship, Zyrex explained. His people, the Nerisians, had been traveling to start a new colony. Most of the 10,000 people on board were in sleep pods to save food and air during the long journey. 3 days ago, the ship had hit something in space, a kind of energy storm that damaged the engines and power systems. Sleep pods failing, Zyrex said. His skin glowed with changing colors as he spoke. Need power or people die? Lee turned to her crew. We need to board their ship. Prepare a team. Chief Medical Officer Ben Martinez gathered medical supplies, though he had no idea if they would work on alien bodies. Engineer Doug Freeman collected tools and portable power units. Security Chief Nicole Garcia chose 4 officers to go with them. We don't know what to expect, Lee told the team. But these people called for our help and we're going to give it. The horizon moved closer to the much larger alien ship. Up close, they could see that the Eternal Light was beautiful. Its hull was made of a material that seemed to flow like liquid but was solid. Lights pulsed along its surface in patterns. It's at least 3 times bigger than our ship, Freeman said in wonder. 10,000 people need a lot of space, Martinez reminded him. The human ship extended a docking tube to connect with the alien vessel. The first team to enter would be Freeman, Martinez, Garcia, and Captain Lee herself. The air should be breathable, Lee said as they prepared to enter. Their message said so, but keep your emergency masks ready just in case. They stepped through the airlock and into the alien ship. The gravity was a little stronger than Earth's, making them feel heavier. The air smelled strange, like flowers, and metal mixed together, but they could breathe it. Captain Zyrex waited for them with 2 other Nerisians. Standing up, the aliens were taller than humans, with long, thin bodies. Their skin changed colors slightly as they moved. They wore simple clothes that seemed to be made of a soft, shiny material. Welcome to Eternal Light, Zyrex said, bowing slightly. First humans to meet Nerisians. Lee stepped forward and bowed in return. Thank you for trusting us. Now please, show us what needs to be fixed first. The aliens led the humans through curving hallways. The ship was unlike anything the humans had seen before. The walls glowed softly, providing light. Doors opened by themselves as they approached. Everything seemed to flow together, with few sharp edges or corners. They reached a large room filled with rows of clear pods. Inside each pod was a sleeping Nerisian. Sleep chambers, Zyrex explained. Power failing. Life support for only 2 more days. Martinez moved closer to examine the pods. How do they work? A female Nerisian stepped forward. Her skin had more purple tones than the others. I am Talia, Chief Healer, she said. Pods keep bodies cold but alive. Very slow heartbeat. Very slow breathing. Can sleep for many years this way. Martinez nodded. It was similar to the hibernation technology humans were developing, but much more advanced. The problem? He asked. Talia led them to a control panel. Lights that should have been bright were dim and flickering. Main power gone, she explained. Backup power also damaged. Need help. Freeman studied the panel. Though the writing was alien, he could understand the basic systems. The power distribution is similar to ours, he said to Captain Lee. I think we can hook up our portable generators to buy some time. Do it, Lee ordered. While Freeman's team worked on the power systems, Martinez and Talia discussed the medical needs of the sleeping Norisians. If we wake them, do you have enough supplies for everyone? Martinez asked. Talia's skin darkened. No, not enough food or medicine for all if awake. Must stay sleeping until we reach new home. Then we need to fix their ship, not just rescue. The people, Lee said to her crew. Garcia's security team explored more of the alien vessel, finding more sleeping Norisians and more damaged systems. The whole ship is running on emergency power, she reported, and it's almost gone. Back on the horizon, communications officer Linda Perez was studying the Norisian language and technology. Captain, she called over the radio, I've been reviewing their star charts. Their destination planet is only 30 light-years from Earth. They were planning to settle in what we call the Tau Ceti system. That's practically our neighborhood, Lee replied. Definitely close enough for future contact. In the engine room of the Eternal Light, Freeman made an important discovery. The alien engines were damaged, but in a way he hadn't expected. Captain, you need to see this, he called. Lee joined him in the huge chamber that held the Norisian ship's main power source. It was a beautiful thing, a swirling ball of energy held in a special container. It's amazing, Lee said. What powers it? That's the interesting part, Freeman replied. The energy storm that hit them? It's the same kind of energy they use for power. The storm didn't just damage their engine, it overloaded it. Can we fix it? Freeman smiled for the first time since boarding the alien ship. I think we can do better than that. If we can build a converter, we can use the excess energy still floating around their ship to refuel their engine. This was good news, but the work would not be easy. The humans returned to the horizon to get more equipment and to call Earth for help. Admiral Garrett listened to their report with amazement. You're saying the alien technology is compatible with ours? He asked. Not exactly compatible, Lee explained. But we understand the basic principles. With Earth's help, we might be able to get their ship working again. You'll have it, Garrett promised. I'm sending 3 more ships with supplies and experts. They'll reach you in 4 days. For the first time since answering the distress call, Lee felt real hope. The Norisians might survive after all. When she shared the news with Captain Zyrex, the alien's skin glowed bright blue, a sign of happiness she had learned. Humans are kind to help strangers, Zyrex said. That's what we do, Lee replied simply. We couldn't ignore your call. Zyrex was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised her. We chose humans carefully, watched your broadcasts for many years, saw how you help each other in disasters, how you risk lives to save others. Not all species would do this. You've met other species? Lee asked in surprise. No, but we have listened to many signals from many stars. Some speak only of conquest and war. Humans speak of hope and helping. As the human team continued their work, they learned more about the Norisians. Despite their alien appearance, they had many things in common with humans. They cared for their families. They created art and music. They explored space out of curiosity and hope. 2 great peoples, born under different suns, had finally met. And they had met not in war or fear, but in the simple act of helping those in need. The distress call that echoed across the stars. Then humanity arrived. 3 more human ships arrived 4 days later. They brought supplies, equipment, and people with special skills. Scientists, engineers, and doctors came to help save the Norisian colony ship. The Eternal Light now had over 100 humans working inside it. They wore special badges that translated their words into Norisian sounds. The aliens wore similar badges that translated their speech into English. In the engine room, engineer Doug Freeman led a team of 20 people. They worked day and night to build what he called an energy converter. This machine would take the strange energy from the space storm and change it into power the ship could use. "It's like turning poison into medicine," Freeman explained to Captain Xerex. Xerex's skin glowed with blue and green patterns. "You give hope to my people." On Earth, scientists studied the information sent back from the human ships. They were amazed by Norisian technology. It was more advanced than human science in many ways, especially in space travel and life support systems. President Maria Clark spoke to Captain Samantha Lee by video link. "How are the Norisians reacting to our help?" the president asked. "With gratitude and friendship," Lee replied. "They're eager to teach us about their technology and they want to learn about Earth. They're peaceful explorers like us." "That's good to hear. The public is following every update. People want to know what the aliens look like, how they live." "They're different from us," Lee said. "But in the important ways, they're very similar. They care about their families. They value knowledge and peace." The president nodded. "When the rescue is complete, we hope to establish formal relations with them. Their colony will be close enough for regular contact." In the medical center of the Eternal Light, Dr. Ben Martinez worked with Chief Healer Talia. They faced many challenges. Norisian bodies were based on silicon rather than carbon like humans. Their blood was a different color, purple instead of red. They needed different foods and medicines. "The sleep pods in sections 3 and 4 are stable now," Martinez told Captain Lee. "But sections 1 and 2 are still failing." "How many people are at risk?" Lee asked. "About 4,000, Talia answered. Her skin had dark patches of worry. "We must move them to safer pods." Moving the sleeping Norisians was difficult and dangerous work. Each person floated in a special liquid inside their pod. If the liquid got too warm, or if air touched it, the sleeper might wake up suddenly and become sick. Security Chief Nicole Garcia and her team helped with the moving. They wore special suits to protect against the cold liquid. Carefully, they carried each sleeping Norisian to a pod with better power. "We've moved 500 so far," Garcia reported. "But there are thousands more, and time is running out." On the bridge of the horizon, Communications Officer Linda Perez made an exciting discovery. She had been studying the Norisian language and culture. "Captain, look at this," she said, showing Lee a display. "Their music uses the same basic patterns as human music. Different sounds, but the same mathematical structure." "What does that mean?" Lee asked. "It means we could create music together. And maybe it means that certain things, like math and music, are universal. They might be the same anywhere in the galaxy." In the engine room, Freeman and his team had a breakthrough. The energy converter was ready to test. "Everyone step back," he warned. "We don't know exactly what will happen." He pressed a series of controls. The machine hummed and glowed. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, lights began to brighten throughout the ship. Systems that had been dark for days came back to life. "It's working," Freeman shouted. The energy from the space storm was being changed into power the ship could use. It wasn't a complete fix. The engine still needed repairs. But it gave them more time. Captain Xerex's entire body glowed with bright colors of joy and relief. "Humans save my people. We will not forget this." With the power restored, the work became easier. The sleep pods were safe again. The air and water systems worked better. Now the teams could focus on fixing the engines. The Norisian engineers shared their knowledge with the humans. Together, they designed new parts for the damaged systems. The human ships had 3D printers that could make these parts using special materials. As they worked side by side, humans and Norisians learned about each other. Despite their different bodies and homeworlds, they found many things to share. Some humans learned Norisian games. Some Norisians tried human food, though their bodies could only handle certain kinds. One evening, after a long day of work, a Norisian engineer named Caliph spoke with Freeman. "Why humans help us?" Caliph asked. "We are strangers, not same species." Freeman thought for a moment. "Because you needed help," he said simply. On Earth, there's an old saying, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Calif's skin flickered with patterns that showed he was thinking deeply. Nerisians have similar saying, the stars are many, but the light is one. After 10 days of non-stop work, the energy converter was fully operational. The Eternal Light's power systems were running at 80% capacity. Now they faced the biggest challenge, fixing the main engines. The Nerisian ship used a type of space travel similar to Earth's faster-than-light drive, but more advanced. Its engines had been badly damaged in the energy storm. Without them, the colony ship could not reach its destination. Captain Lee called a meeting with all the team leaders, both human and Nerisian. We've made great progress, she said, but the engine repairs will take at least 2 more weeks. Some of the parts we need can't be made here. We'll have to send for them from Earth. 2 weeks is too long, said Talia, the chief healer. Even with power restored, the sleep pods in Section 1 are failing. Those people must reach their new home soon. Captain Zyrex looked troubled. What options do we have? Lee took a deep breath. She had been thinking about this problem for days. Now she had a solution, but it was not a simple one. The horizon. Can't carry all your people, she said. But we could take the ones in the failing pods, about 1,000 of them. We can transport them to the Tau Ceti system ahead of the colony ship. Everyone was quiet as they considered this idea. Would humans do this? Zyrex asked finally. Take our people to their new home while we repair our ship? Yes, Lee said firmly. We would. Freeman spoke up. The horizon is fast. It could make the journey in 2 jumps. The people in the failing pods would be safe. Zyrex turned to Talia. Can they be moved to the human ship? Yes, Talia said. If we are careful, it is their best chance. The plan was set. The horizon would take the most vulnerable Nerisians to their new home. The other human ships would stay behind to help repair the Eternal Light. As they prepared for this new mission, Captain Lee realized something important. What had started as a rescue was becoming something more. The beginning of a friendship between 2 species from different stars. The distress call that echoed across the stars. Then humanity arrived. 1 year later, 2 ships floated in space around a beautiful blue-green planet in the Tau Ceti system. The larger ship was the Nerisian colony vessel Eternal Light, now fully repaired and functioning. The smaller ship was from Earth, the diplomatic vessel Unity, sent to establish formal relations with the new Nerisian colony. On the surface of the planet, which the Nerisians had named Harmony, the first city was taking shape. Curved buildings rose from the grassy plains. Fields of strange plants grew in neat rows. Nerisians who had spent years in sleep pods now walked under the light of a new sun. In a large meeting hall in the center of the city, humans and Nerisians gathered for an important ceremony. Ambassador Ryan Collins of Earth stood beside Elder Mira of the Nerisian Council. Between them was a beautiful object, a sculpture made of materials from both worlds, shaped like 2 hands reaching toward each other. 1 year ago, our peoples were strangers, Ambassador Collins said. Today, we are neighbors and friends. Elder Mira's skin glowed with patterns of blue and gold, colors of joy and ceremony in Nerisian culture. The hand of friendship reached across the stars when we needed it most, she said. Now we extend our hand in return. The treaty we sign today makes this official, but the bond between our worlds began the moment humans answered our call. The treaty was simple but important. It established peaceful relations between Earth and the Nerisian colony. It allowed for trade, scientific cooperation, and cultural exchange. Most importantly, it created a system for both species to work together to explore space safely. After the ceremony, Captain Samantha Lee, now Admiral Lee, walked through the new city with Captain Zyrex. Both had been promoted for their roles in the rescue mission. Both were now respected leaders among their people. Your colony is growing fast, Lee said, looking at the busy streets where Nerisians worked to build their new home. Thanks to humans, Zyrex replied. Without your help, we would still be drifting in space, or worse. They stopped at a hill overlooking the city. In the distance, they could see a smaller settlement, the human outpost established as part of the treaty. About 200 Earth scientists, diplomats, and their families now lived on Harmony, learning from and working with the Nerisians. The children are the most interesting part, Lee said with a smile. Have you visited the joint school? Xerex's skin rippled with amusement. Yes. Nerisian children and human children learning together. They do not see differences the way we do. To them, having different colors of skin or different numbers of eyes is just normal. Back on Earth, the contact with the Nerisians had changed human society in many ways. The knowledge shared by the aliens had advanced Earth's technology by decades. New medicines based on Nerisian science had cured diseases that humans had fought for centuries. New energy systems based on their technology made power cleaner and more available. But the biggest changes were in how humans saw themselves. No longer were they alone in the universe. They now knew for certain that other intelligent beings existed among the stars. And they had met those beings not as enemies, but as friends in need. Universities created new departments to study Nerisian language, biology, and culture. Children played with toys shaped like the eternal light and the horizon working together in space. The most popular new movie was about the rescue mission. The crew of the Horizon had returned to Earth as heroes. Engineer Doug Freeman now led a team developing new space engines based on what he had learned from the Nerisians. Dr. Ben Martinez headed the new Xenobiology Institute, studying how different forms of life might evolve on other worlds. Communications officer Linda Perez was writing a book about the Nerisian language and culture. Admiral John Garrett had created the Interstellar Rescue Command, with ships placed to respond to distress calls throughout known space. The Horizon, itself now upgraded with some Nerisian technology, was the flagship of this new fleet. We were lucky with the Nerisians, Garrett often said. They reached out in peace, and we responded in kind. But there are many other species out there. Some may need our help. Some may offer friendship. Some may pose dangers. We need to be ready for all possibilities. The success of the rescue mission and the peaceful contact with the Nerisians had caught the attention of other species. 3 more alien civilizations had made contact with Earth in the past year. All had mentioned the Nerisian rescue as a reason they felt safe reaching out to humans. You help strangers, one alien ambassador had said. This is rare and valuable in the galaxy. On Harmony, Admiral Lee and Captain Xerex reached a special place on their walk, a memorial garden. In the center stood a simple stone column with names carved in both human and Nerisian writing. These were the names of those who had not survived. 14 Nerisians whose sleep pods had failed before help arrived, and 3 humans who had died during the dangerous work of moving sleeping aliens to safer pods. They are not forgotten, Xerex said quietly. No, Lee agreed. Their sacrifice made this new friendship possible. As they stood in silence, a sound reached them from the nearby school, children laughing together, human children with their 2 eyes and Nerisian children with their 4, playing games neither species had known before they met. That is the real meaning of our work, Lee said. A future where our differences make us stronger together, not afraid of each other. As the sun began to set on Harmony, Admiral Lee prepared to return to the Unity in orbit. A new mission awaited her. Another distress call had been received, this one from a system 40 light-years away. A different species, unknown to either humans or Nerisians, had reached out for help. Will you go? Xerex asked. Of course, Lee replied. That's what we do. Xerex's skin glowed with colors that showed pride and friendship. Not alone this time. Nerisian ships will join you. Together we will answer this new call. As Lee boarded, the shuttle that would take her back to orbit, she thought about how much had changed in just 1 year. A single distress call had brought 2 species together. That connection had then reached outward, bringing more peoples into peaceful contact. What had begun as a desperate message sent into the darkness had become the foundation of humanity's place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as helpers. the species that answered when others called for aid. As the shuttle rose toward space, Lee looked out the window at the new world below. Lights from the Neresian city and the human outpost glowed, in the gathering darkness, separate but together, like stars in the same sky. The distress call had echoed across the stars. Humanity had arrived, and the universe would never be the same.